Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has launched an investigation into pharmaceutical companies Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson concerning whether they engaged in gain-of-function research and misled the public about doing so. No, not Big Pharma would never do something like that, as well as the efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccine and the likelihood of transmitting the virus after taking the vaccine that he says could go against the Deceptive Trade Practices Act here in Texas. Wanted to bring him on the program to discuss the latest. Attorney General Paxton, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So, General, tell us about this investigation and what prompted you to even think that this could possibly, be something that they did and covered up.
Yeah, so we were involved in years of litigation against federal government, whether it was over OSHA or whether it was over other agencies. We were involved in litigation with our in the state with cities, counties, school districts over unconstitutional mandates related to masks and vaccines. And as time has gone on, we've gotten more and more information that gave us some pause and made us think, hey, we need to know what really went on here with this. This is not a lawsuit. This is an investigation to find out what the truth is. And so we have the power under state law, if we are operating under the Deceptive Trade Practices Act, to ask questions that they have an obligation to answer. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to ask questions about their trials, about what they knew at the time, when they knew it, and see if they told us the truth or whether they misled the public about the efficacy of their vaccine.
So what would be the threshold that you would be able to meet when it comes to the Deceptive Trade Practices Act? Like, what is the threshold there that you guys would need to prove? And by the way, I'm asking this question really not having much confidence in big pharmaceutical companies' straightforwardness with you. But I'm just wondering, like, I don't trust them. I feel like they're not going to provide documents that maybe they have. And I'm just wondering what kind of the burden of proof there is for that particular act.
Well, the problem with them not providing the documents they have, that potentially turns into criminal action and certainly results in other risks for their company. It involves risk for the people doing it as well. And so if anybody in the company, and any one of those companies, starts disclosing information that otherwise was hidden, that creates all kinds of problems. So they should have some good incentives to provide the right information. Now, you're right. They could decide, hey, we don't want to disclose information. That generally is usually the cover-up's worse than the crime. So it's better for them just to be honest. And if they have nothing to hide and they really have followed through and given information honestly, even if they turned out to be wrong, as long as they were truthful about what they knew at the time, they're fine. If they were not truthful about what they did at the time, then there will be some civil penalties and it will cost them some money, but that's still better than lying and end up, potentially in some type of criminal action.
Yeah. How long do you anticipate that this type of investigation will take before you really start getting some answers?
It's hard to say. They have 30 days to respond to our initial questions, but sometimes, they need more time based on, they'll have to give us a good reason. And then other times we'll have more questions once we see their answers. So they have 30 days to send it. Obviously, it takes us a little time to digest the information. And then we decide, hey, do we have any more that we want to ask? If we do, we send them more questions. And that process could go back and forth a while, or it may not. If we determine pretty early on there's not, they told the truth and there's nothing here, then we just let them know it's over. You guys, thanks for answering our questions. If they answer the questions and we find that they've misled the public, then we've got different issues that we either have to settle with them or we have to sue them to recover the damages that they've caused.
Well, I got to tell you, when it comes to suing and however many damages you're talking about, I mean, I think they're doing pretty well. They probably have a lot to give over because the Moderna CEO, he made nearly $400 million last year on his stock options, owns a reported 2.8 billion shares in the company, and Albert Bourla over at Pfizer made $33 million in salary last year, off of the backs of the American public who have been, I would argue, I'm not putting words in your mouth, General, but I would argue were, injured by these vaccines that they were selling the American public. I want to, while I have you here, if you don't mind, I want to talk to you about what's going on at the border because, you know, Title 42 obviously is set to expire next week. We've heard really troubling reports from Representative Andy Biggs over in Arizona, who says that Arizona officials are being told that there is already amassing 700,000 to 1 million migrants who are just lying in wait in Mexico, ready to rush the border. You know, we've seen these scenes in El Paso where there's just, I mean, there's no room. They're just all over the downtown area. They're in tents, they're in sleeping bags, just crammed in like sardines. And I want to get your thoughts on what we should expect, what we should anticipate, what can Texas do right now as we await this expiration? Well,
it's pretty horrific. This is the worst it's ever been, and the Biden administration is doing everything to make it worse than it's already been, which is hard to believe that that's their stance. But this is a reality. This is not an accident. This isn't happening because they are incompetent or don't know what they're doing. This is happening because they want it to happen. They've dismantled our immigration laws. They've put them aside. They've set them aside. Remain in Mexico, catch and release, the wall, Title 42. Everything that works is now going to be gone. And so every time they've taken down one of the protections for the American people, we've gotten more illegal immigration, we've gotten more crime, we've got more drug importation. And, you know, let's just be honest, they are participating in an engagement, a partnership with the cartels, where they tell the cartels, you get people here, we're dismantling all the rules against it. You don't have to hide anymore, just bring them to us and we'll transport them around the country, mostly to Republican states, because we want these people in Republican states to do what they do, which is cause a lot of cost socially and economically. And so the Biden administration is doing everything they can to promote this as possible. And it leaves us in a horrible position because we can't intervene in the transfer of people at the border when it's going directly to the Border Patrol. They're not hiding. They're running to the Border Patrol, not away. They're running away from us, but they're not running to, they're running to Border Patrol. So it leaves us in a terrible situation. We're trying to do what we can for people who are crossing illegally, not to Border Patrol. Those are the really bad people. And we're trying to arrest them under state law. And we're trying to file these lawsuits to force Biden to enforce the laws he's had. But that's time consuming, and it just takes time to get done.
Yeah, well, we appreciate all of your hard work. I know I'd have to tell you this every time you're on the program, but you are the very best, hands down, not even close, the very best Attorney General in the country. And we just so appreciate you representing Texas the way that you do.
Hey, thanks, Sarah. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too. We'll talk soon. So, all right. So, gentlemen, I'm going to give you guys a chance to give your thoughts on this investigation that Texas is now launching into Big Pharma.
I would love to. I hate that is it just Texas?
It is just Ken Paxton. So it's just Texas.
That's very disappointing. The way that they should be doing this and the way they should be fighting back is they should be forming a coalition. So we talk about parallel economies. We talk about, you know, I don't know how I want to say it. I don't want to go too far with it, but, you know, I guess just the splintering of America. We have to make sure that the sides are very, very clear here. And these red state governors and these red state attorney generals, they also need to make that very, very clear. So why isn't Florida joining in with this? All the other different red states, they should all be going together as a coalition. I want to see them form a coalition and all move as one on things like this. But I love what he's doing. I just want to see more participation.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's way too much infighting on the right at all times.
Oh gosh, yes.
The left just marches down the field and the right's like, oh, well, look at this book and oh, let's talk about this issue. And I like debate. And it's like, what possibly could be more important than the big pharma stuff? Or if you're, you know, in Arizona or New Mexico or Texas, like the southern border, I mean, nothing is more important than this. I don't know what these people do all day.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to break here in a second, but it is interesting, John, because I do feel like very recently there has been this very dark energy surrounding the conservative movement, generally speaking. And like you go on Twitter and they're all sniping at each other and tearing each other down. And it really does. It feels, I'm just saying, I feel a very dark energy like over the entire movement. And it's very disheartening to see.
If you like that clip, there is plenty more where that came from. Click the link in the description below to subscribe to the News and Why It Matters YouTube channel to watch the full episode.